but they had 3 classifications. So I guess starting at the most basic would be like very acute overtraining, which is more what someone would consider, I don't know, like just general fatigue from a big session. So if you went out and did like a very long race, 3 to 4 hours, or like 2 to 4 hour, whatever kind of race, whatever sport you're in, the next day you're going to be pretty stuffed. So that's like the smallest, like the most acute form of overtraining. And that's just really termed fatigue. And then we get into short-term overtraining or overreaching. And that's the fine line, I think, where like you and I, Matt, as coaches are always playing with, where yes, you want to definitely overtrain and like a controlled form so that you can, recover and then get that super compensation. And so that can be, I guess a week to 2 weeks kind of thing. And then like a week or 2 weeks reduced training load is going to get you back above where you were. And then there's like overtraining or chronic overtraining, which is just a continuous weeks and months of like overstimulus under recovery.
Yeah, and that's when you find yourself in a hole, and you just have no idea what's wrong with you. And we both speak from experience with this, because we both have like been overtrained.
Yeah, in all forms.
Yeah, like but kind of going back to, so like that fatigue thing, like that's just going to happen. Like you might be, so those 3 levels of fatigue is the smallest level of overtraining. It's just going to happen. Like you're going to be tired sometimes from a hard session or a hard event. Like that's just really part of it. And you could go through like a whole season and just have a few of those, and you could perform pretty well at lots of events. And but then that overreaching thing, that's an important thing that we do with our athletes to try and bring the very, very best out of them. And that controlled bit is, I think, the most important part, because we want our overreaching periods to happen because they're so stressful. We want them to happen, 1 or 2 times a year ahead of the most important events.
Yeah. So what are the best ways to identify each? I mean, fatigue, you should have indications of when you're tired or fatigued. Generally, like you won't really need to look at any specific, data or metrics or physical sort of cues for something like a really hard session. You should just know, like, oh, I'm doing a really hard session today. Let's say it's a Wednesday and I've got a race on a Saturday or another really big, long weekend training. Then you go, okay, well, if I trained hard on Thursday and Friday, I'm going to be screwed. And then Saturday, Sunday is going to make me even more screwed. Like you sort of just understand, okay, if I train really hard, I need a rest. Or if I do a race, I'll have a rest. So that's like, it's hard to, because everyone's going to sort of feel their short-term fatigue in different ways. So that's just, you just need to recover after hard sessions. But then what about short-term overtraining, Matt? Because this is like, for me, what sort of, I guess, happened leading into Rotorua Marathon, there's a very blurred line. Like there's just a point, and the research that we read said you can just end up in overtraining. It's so smooth and it's such a progression that you don't really know where you are on that spectrum.